The retirement calculator allows you to calculate various scenarios, from projecting what your current pension planning will be worth to how changing the retirement age, contribution levels or investment return might affect that outcome. Let's have a look at the inputs. Your age will come across automatically from your portal, as will your salary. And you can change that salary assumption if you need to change the income goal later on, which we'll speak about. The monthly pension contribution, you can put in whatever you're currently paying in there or what you'd like to pay. Let's say 1,000 in this case. Then input a net investment return. Again, choose something appropriate here for your risk level. A medium risk investor may achieve around a 5% gross return, minus off a typical management charge of 1.4%, and we arrive at 3.6% in this case, for example. Next, we can input the value of any existing pensions, and then we put in an inflation rate for the income coming from the pension and a different inflation rate, if we wish, for the wage and contribution inflation that will be assumed. So this inflation rate relates to your salary inflation and also how much this is going to increase year on year, whereas the inflation rate here applies to the income goal coming from the pension here. In most cases, Irish taxpayers will be entitled to the state pension, so you click Include State Pension here. Then we move over to the retirement age. It defaults there to 68, but you can change that, let's say, to 65 if you aspire to retire earlier. In the next section, you can see the state pension assumptions. Again, if you're not entitled to the full state pension, you can change the figure there. We've also defaulted the inflation of the state pension to 2%. You can change that to 3 to match CPI, or 1 if you don't believe it'll keep pace with CPI. But for most scenarios, these default inputs should be appropriate. The income goal automatically calculates as 2/3 of the final salary, so 2/3 of this figure. And then we inflation adjust that to the retirement age using the assumption we've put in here. At that point then we can click calculate and see what fund we're likely to get based on the inputs. So we come out with 1.1 million in this case. And we can see then that that will support an income of 113,000 as inflated year on year up until age 76. Now, most people will live beyond 76, so at this point we can put in a later, what's called bomb out age. In other words, the age that your fund will no longer support the income. So let's put in age 90 and hit recalculate. As we can see, we've got a figure here of 5096 having been recalculated. So this is the new monthly contribution that will allow this client to build up a large enough fund, which, as you can see, is almost doubled to 2.2 million. And that will allow an income of 113 as inflated to be derived every year from that fund until age 90. To see the year-on-year position, you can simply go down to the table. We start off at age 50 with that salary, and the savings have been recalculated to the higher amount. So we see that figure in here, the annualized version. There's growth of 18,000, and we can see the starting balance and ending balance. So the starting balance is just what we had in the fund at the start. Then the ending balance will include any growth and contributions to that initial balance, resulting in our remaining fund at the far right. As we scroll down, we begin to see income required once we hit retirement age, and that will come from state pension and private pension, and then we see the total income. So I'll scroll down to retirement age 65, and we can see income being required from the private pension. Once we get to age 68, we can see the income coming from both the state and the private pension. So that in combination they're giving us the 2/3 as inflated of final salary income that we desire. If we scroll all the way down to age 91, we can see fund exhausted. So that's the point at which the fund remaining can no longer support the income required. So too many withdrawals have been taken. And that's basically what we call a targeted bomb out age of 90. And you can change that by changing the assumption up above. As well as that, you can reset, start from scratch and change, a new lower salary amount, for example, if you want to change the income goal assumption.